So we'll
Turn your mic on.
a call to order. And Mr. Neese, can you do roll call for us? Here?
Here.
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 I'm here in public works director.
And Bill Potzik did call and say he's in Florida. He can't zoom in. I guess we'll have a moment of silence. I guess keep the Ukrainians in our thoughts. And we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I consider approving the agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Hearing none, it's approved. Consider approving the minutes from March 3rd, 2022 meeting, Park and Recreation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Hearing none, it's approved. And George, can you give us a Public Works update?
Absolutely. So it's been a busy month in the parks, primarily the month of March. Just to give you some of the highlights of what's been going on. So I'll start with Drexel Lodge. When we were out there with the township arborists, there were 4 trees that were identified as needing to come down. They were hazard trees. 2 of them were near the tot lot. They looked okay, but he knows what to look for. And then he kind of climbed the tree a little bit and looked at and saw some of the damage to it. So we've in-house, we took down 4 trees out there. Corresponding, he has identified probably 15 to 20 locations where new trees could be planted out there. So working with the tree commission and keeping you in the loop on that, that'll be something that'll be coming at some point, new trees going out. We had intended to open the restrooms fully to the public as of April the 1st. We've done it sporadically opening it, but one, we've had a problem with the floor. We had wanted to repaint the floor before we reopened, and the weather has just not cooperated with the temperature and all the rain, et cetera. So we will be repainting that floor, with epoxy. When we re-engage the plumbing and turn the water back on, a number of the seals were leaking. So we have ordered all the parts necessary to repair all the fixtures in the bathrooms. And the electrical box was a problem. I know you found that on Saturday. That has either been repaired by this point or by tomorrow it's going to be repaired. The goose problem is still being remediated. The township animal warden still goes out on a daily basis, and he moves around the different decoys. He's actually put a couple different decoys out there now. There are still 3 or 4 geese that are hanging out there, but they get chased. He chases them every day. So the idea is to try to really make sure that they don't set up shop. But again, down from 90 geese to 3 or 4 geese. So that bodes well for being able to have things like a concert and events out there. We did just this week get an estimate to repair the bubblers in both ponds. It is a very expensive proposition. I think the estimate came in at about $5,000 to repair the 2 bubblers, which I don't immediately have that money, but I wasn't even going to bring it to the board yet because they also said we have to change the electric out that runs to them. And so I need to find out what that even means before I present it to you and to the Board of Supervisors. But we are working on the bubblers for the pond. So that's Drexel Lodge. Brookside, there were also 4 trees that the township arborist identified at Brookside, which we have taken down. And again, it's good they get identified that we keep everybody as safe as possible. We did some brush and vine clearing as well, especially around the playground area. And during March, we replaced the steps, the metal steps on the playground equipment itself. Some of it had started to split, the rubber casing had split on it. And so we had ordered those parts right at the end of last year and put them in this year in March. So that's good. It fixed that tot lot up a bit. Public Works visits all the parks 2 to 3 times a week. We inspect all the parks. We check the playground equipment. We pick up trash, empty the trash, all those kind of things. So we put eyes on the whole park system 2 to 3 times a week. One of those days, we increase that visit to include like the Bartram Bridge, the Paper Mill House, others, the Meadow Preserve, other sites that folks don't traditionally think of as parks, but they're township properties. They're places where people go and enjoy themselves. And so we're out there as well. We had ordered playground mulch for all the tot lots back about a month ago. We're told it's finally going to be coming in next week. So as soon as it comes in, Public Works goes out and we put all new playground mulch down. Again, it's certified playground mulch. It's safe to put underneath the playgrounds, and good for the children in case anybody trips or something. We go out and we weed and all that. So the playground mulch goes to Newby, it goes to Greer, Gable, Brookside, and Drexel Lodge. The last thing I'll just mention, because it does have to do with parks, on Arbor Day, Friday, April the 29th, PICO is going to be using Drexel Lodge Park as their site for their tree giveaway. So they do a tree giveaway, which actually is for all of Delaware County. You sign up for your tree. They had asked Newtown if they could use a site here, and we recommended Drexel Lodge, which they're going to do. So 125 residents from Delaware County will come there at different times of the day to pick up their trees. 50 residents from Newtown Township specifically are signed up to get trees there. So we're doing it in conjunction with the Tree Commission. The Tree Commission is going to help with it, do some education, do some demonstration during it, especially focused on the Newtown residents. So it should be a good day out there. Again, Friday the 29th, which is Arbor Day.
I signed up for it.
Do you need us to support in any way?
I mean, I think that there's 2 people from the Tree Commission, so a couple more out there would probably be helpful if anybody's available. I think it's from 9 until noon. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Because they're going to actually go and they're going to do tree planting demonstrations, 2 different trees an hour. And so they're going to actually plant 6 trees right there at Drexel Lodge.
Oh, wow.
And so they're going to do 2, or they're going to do 3 that are containers, and then they're going to do 3 that are bare root. And so just the idea is within the hour, anybody that stops by can see how, if you make an hour investment, you're actually going to see how to plant a container tree and how to plant a bare root tree.
Right.
And so it's a good opportunity for folks to come out, even if you're not getting one of the free trees that PICO's giving away. We're also going to have bare root trees there. And if somebody wants to do a shade tree along a street shade tree, we'll have an opportunity for people to pick up those as well.
George, would you clarify something for me? You said 4 trees were taken down at DLP. Did you say Greer or Brookside 4 more trees?
Brookside, and the Brookside trees are on the tot lot side, closer to St. Albans Swim Club, down at that kind of far end of the property there. So when I was over there with the township arborist, there was one that we had seen that we were concerned about. He identified a total of 4, and he was right. He knows what to look for. He knows the wood condition, and when he does that, he shows us what to look for with it too.
Steve, my other question would be, you and I scoped out a couple of trees at Greer. Can you tell us where those?
They're big trees.
Those big ones.
So they're still there, but George and I have talked. I believe you've been out with the arborist to look at those. Is that correct, George? Or have you not looked at those specifically?
No. So we had been out previously
Right.
to look at them, and and have been watching them. Before we had the township arborist we have now, we had identified them with a save a tree.
So we're going to get the arborists back out and just determine if they can, what we were hoping to do, we want to do the program at Greer, and there's a lot of work that has to be done. Those trees are probably going to have to come out when we go to do that anyhow. The idea would be to hopefully do that as we're starting the project and make it look like it's all part of the project versus taking them down and causing that. However, I did share with George, we had a concern about some safety issues with what's there. And it may be that we need to trim the tree back at least, because there are a couple spots that, I should never have been able to lift that log.
No, and it almost fell on you.
Well, it was wedged pretty tight, but it was not heavy.
No.
And so it tells me how bad of the rot was in the wood there, because if it was a healthy piece of log that had fallen off, I would have never been able to lift it because it was, probably about that big around.
I saw you, yeah, it was pretty large.
Huh?
I saw you, yeah.
Yeah, it was very large.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to get it, dislodged so that somebody else didn't get hurt with it. So
Yeah.
I was trying to hurt myself so we didn't hurt somebody else.
Is that a willow?
We think it's a willow, yeah. Did you have anything else?
New business, consider recommending the purchase of a shade structure for Brookside Park to the Board of Supervisors.
Sure. So if you look on the screen, I've given a rough drawing of what's being presented. I met with Caitlin out there, and I know Caitlin's been communicating a little with Bill as well. Since the two of them, you had requested to work with me to come up with a proposal. One of the challenges we've had is, of course, what to shade out there, and the best use of it, and the long-term plan for the tot lot out there. So we are at this point recommending that we shade what you see in the lower right portion there, which is by the parking lot, that we put one of the pyramid shades directly over the bench that's there. And then at the far end, we put another one of those shades and put a new bench over there. The concept being that it's a place where caregivers and parents can sit and watch their children and also be able to see the exit to the tot lot, so that they would see if anybody goes to come or go, or their child starts running, et cetera. And I am getting the quotes on that, but that appears to be honoring what the request was and providing shade for everybody. I am getting an alternate quote at this point, because if the shades come in affordable enough, we may be able to purchase a third shade and cover one of the two tables that are there. There's a slightly different design shade, that the shade is, the post is completely on the side, and then there's a crossbar that comes over, and it could go over the table. I don't want to count on that because I don't know what the cost is going to come in at, but if we could afford it, I know there was a hope that we could shade a table as well, and we might be able to do that. So that's what we've come up with. That's the recommendation, and I would appreciate your thoughts and direction on whether this is a plan you would like me to bring to the Board of Supervisors.
What are the colors? I can't quite read it.
Sure. The blue would be the shades themselves. The green are the existing park benches, and the red would be a new park bench that goes in.
We had talked once about putting shade over the equipment itself, but George was pointing out that this equipment's a little bit older and they don't have like new adaptations or modifications that you could add shade to it. We didn't budget for like larger shades to go over bigger areas. And George was saying maybe in the grand scheme, thinking of the master plan, we could think about shading some of the equipment for future steps.
Right, it is a hot park. It really is.
And we would like to see with these shades here, okay, how does the shadow cast? Does it maybe some of it get on the equipment? And we'll see what the effect is.
Mhm.
You know, we'll have 2 locations, maybe 3 locations that are in the shade there. And then we kind of take it from there.
Which would be the third location if it was optionally chosen?
Sure. So it would be one of the 2 tables, probably the wheelchair accessible table, which is closest to the gate in the front.
Okay.
And again, the pole would be behind the table and then the shade would reach over it. And I say that, you know, I would probably recommend the one in the front. It doesn't have to be. It could very well be the table in the back if that was this board's preference.
It's more inclusive, I think, there.
Yeah.
For
if-
people who can't walk all the way to the back.
Right. You don't have to cross the grass.
Yep. Well,
So is there color? What are the color choices? I mean, we want to kind of pop some color into this park if we can.
Right. So I think all of your primary colors are available for the shade itself. And actually the post, again, you could do a black post, you could do a beige colored post, you could do a brown post. If there's a recommendation, you know, I could certainly take that. I think under normal circumstances, we would probably, as a default, lean toward a green shade because so much of the equipment is green there and the benches are green and the tables are green. So it would lend itself and it wouldn't stand out as being out of place, but there's no reason why you couldn't recommend another one.
I meant the sails themselves.
Yeah,
because
so
they're
the
gonna be
shade
up
sails
behind.
themselves would be green. And then the pole itself could be a, you know, black or could be a beige.
George, did you see, just for variety, have a multicolored shade, like 4 different colors?
I don't think they were available. I don't think you were able to do like a multicolored shade. I think it was, you know, selecting one of the primary colors.
Sure.
And again, if I'm correct, I think that, yeah, pretty much any of the primary colors would be available.
The 2 slides are red. I wonder if red might be sharp to kind of add some color and pull the.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what's there, but there is a lot of green and it does look traditional for a park and it fits in very well. If we drive past and look at it, you're not going to order them until you talk to the supervisors and.
True, and I'm going to talk to the supervisors Monday night. But I suppose, I don't know if I would have to tell them what the color is, Steve.
Well, I think if we're going to do something, if you're staying with the colors that are in the park, I think you're fine. If you're staying with
Yes.
the red or the green, if you were all of a sudden going to introduce hot pink or purple, then I think we probably ought to at least let the board know that's the intent.
No, I think the primary and green, you know.
Yeah, that'd probably be good. And I'm thinking, you know, it may over time get dirty, you know, and
Fade.
you don't really want something that's a light, bright color like yellow,
Mm.
you know, and then have it get dingy looking, you know, if it's already kind of darker. then
Right.
That'd be better.
Would the company be able to chime in as far as, you know, sustainability and fading and if green or red is better or whatever?
Sure, and I can get that information from them. You know, their fabrics are all treated, you know, so they said you're going to get 2 or 3 years out of the fabric, and then you can replace the fabric itself and still have the structure.
Now, is that considering you putting it away in the winter time?
You have to, yeah. So we have to take it apart at the end of the season, clean it, put it away, and then get it out at the end of the beginning of the next season.
We talked about, they come in different sizes. Do you have any more thoughts about like 8 foot versus 14 feet or?
Sure. So when I spoke to the representative, he said, first of all, from a height standpoint, he would recommend 10 feet. He said, if we go for an 8 foot height, he said, children are going to want to jump up and hit it due to experience. He said 10 foot, that's far enough up that it'll be left alone a little more. And it goes anywhere from a width from 10 feet to 20 feet. He said 20 feet's really big. You might not want to go that large. if we're putting them over the benches are 8 feet. So probably 12 feet would probably be a comfortable one, you know, maybe as much as 14, but I probably wouldn't go larger than that.
12 will give you 4 on each side, right? Or no,
Well-
2 on each side.
Mhm.
Well, 6 on. Is it rectangular? These are rectangles.
The shades are square.
All right.
Yeah, so they're a square. It would be a 12 by 12, a 14 by 14.
Yeah, 12 by 12 is pretty big. It's,
It is.
That's 2 of me.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think we need to go any bigger than
No,
that.
I don't. And plus where the sun is gonna determine how much shade. Yeah, like at high noon, it'll give even shade in the summer. And then when it's setting, less shade, but cooler temperatures too.
And we're going to put them at, again, it was determined the benches are really the ideal place. Now, of course, the benches that are existing there have been heavily planted with plants and flowers and those kind of things around them. That's part of the reason why we're not recommending that we put them over 2 existing ones right now, because we really don't know what that's going to do to the plants. If the plants are going to be okay with it because they'll get some sun during the day, or they'll get indirect sun, or whether they're just really not going to like it. So one bench will be a new bench that'll have nothing around it, and again, better visibility to the gate. The other one closer to the parking lot, we will put it by the bench. We're recommending putting it by the bench. It is planted. We'll see. If the plants really start doing bad, we could, you know, dig them out and move them if we have to.
Yeah, I think, you know, we'd be okay with this, just the 2 benches,
Yeah.
right?
And if you can get the money for a third, maybe save it and see how these do for the first couple of years, for the third one in.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly reasonable. We could certainly, you know, look at installing the 2 and then kind of take it from there. So is this board comfortable with this being presented to the Board of Supervisors?
Do we care what color the poles are, tan, brown, or black?
No, I would think as long as they, you know, if we can provide a little pop, do that, but, you know, they would be the same colors as the existing scheme that's there.
I'm thinking the poles, if we could get something that's the most visible. In other words, it's not going to blend in so much that people are going to like
Run into it.
run into
Yeah,
it.
like a little bit of contrast.
Or-
So what do you
So
think?
like
beige
tan
or-
would be a lighter color as
Yeah.
opposed to black, you know?
I was thinking tan for contrast for same reason, so nobody runs into it.
And tan would go well with green and red.
It would.
And there is tan there already,
Yeah, I think that's
With
smart.
There is tan, yeah.
Green.
and it would be not hot to the touch,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Green.
Yeah, I think a tan pole would be nice, and either green or red shades, I think would look
Okay.
nice.
About one
Yeah,
green
I
and
mean-
one red.
We could, although that could,
I don't
they're
know.
going to be.
Oh, padding for the,
Or padding for the poles, like
yeah,
for
that's a good
basket,
idea.
like big basketball poles.
For the pole.
That's good.
Was originally doing that.
Or if we, I'm wondering if we did one table, one bench.
We could do the table. The reason why we didn't initially pick the chessboard table, checkerboard table, was because most of the sun would be thrown outside of the fence.
Right, right.
And we
All
felt
right,
like
yeah,
that was
because
a
the sun
waste.
comes from the south.
Yeah.
Right.
Putting the new bench in where George has it, the red bench, we thought that
Provides.
would give shade to either the bench or the grass surrounding it. So if you had a blanket or a kid or whatever, you could, that shade was still usable. We
Okay.
didn't get too close to the perimeter of the fencing because the shade for some of the day will be thrown out. So we thought,
Good idea.
that won't help.
That makes sense.
That explains it.
I'm wondering if maybe if the shade was put in between the two benches, would that help? Because depending on where the shade is throughout the day, maybe one of the two benches would be shaded. I'll be honest, I'm not a shade expert, so I'm having a hard time visualizing, where at what point of the day the shade might be. So if anyone wants to.
Or is that a safety issue? So she's saying you're gonna put a new bench in, the other one's there, put the shade structure in between, so it shades some of both parts of the bench.
I'm just throwing that out. I think it's better how we have it, so it's closer to that red bench, and there will be much better visibility. The green bench that's adjacent to the red bench, you really can't see through the playground. At the red one, you can see the whole playground, so I think that's a nice. I would rather sit on the red bench than the green.
Right, so I guess we're gonna recommend that as is like 10 by 10 or 12 by 12 shades should be good enough, right?
Did we want to consider, Sheila was mentioning padding for the poles? Do you think that would be necessary or helpful, or the poles going to be like placed so that they're close to the bench and, rather than out in the middle of?
Exactly. The way we have it now, they're actually protected by the bench. So you would need to run into the bench before you would run into the pole.
Okay, that'd be good.
I think where we talked about it might be okay. It's not immediate running space. If it's tan, I think that will help because there'll be contrast, they'll be more visible.
So I'm looking right now at probably a 12 by 12 shade with a tan pole, which makes sense. Can I just confirm what the thought is on the colors that are we just going to say they're going to be colors that are reflective of the playground set at this point? Or are we going to say that, you prefer red or you prefer green, or?
I think we decided red or green would be good. Does anyone have any strong feelings
I like
towards color?
green.
The green does, it's very traditional for a park. It makes it look, more like a park.
Yeah, especially
It's the
since
same
it's
colors.
all grass. Like if it was paved,
Right.
then maybe different, but being all grass, I think green would be.
I don't feel strongly green versus red, but I do think it might be nice if they were the same color.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Okay.
both. Yeah, both.
I chime in for green.
Okay.
Green, two greens. I'm good with green.
Okay. Thank you for all your work.
Now, the green is sort of like a forest green.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, like a
That's-
darker, not like a Kelly.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Darker
very
green's good.
classic, a good classic look. I think we'll be happy with it.
I think so.
Good. That's what I'll bring on Monday night then. Thank you very much.
George, thank you for
Thank
doing
you,
all that.
George. Yeah.
As usual. So old business, 8.1, discussion and possible action related to the possible options for a teen-specific event at Drexel Lodge Park. So I have not heard back from anyone. The only thing I could think of on this is to reach out to different schools perhaps and try and get the kids to come up with their idea of what an event might look like. I don't know what an event might look like for teen specific, so far removed from teenagers. So I don't know how we would make that happen.
Could Rich Eno over at the high school be part of maybe be asked that question,
He would know more than.
Who was reached out to?
I reached out to Tracy Jacobson, the head of the guidance. Didn't hear back from her.
Okay, for the high school.
Yeah, high school.
And I reached out to someone as well, and I haven't heard back from them. But Rich might be a good idea.
So I had, when this first came up a few months ago, I did reach out to Rich Enow and just asked, Rich, would you be willing to help Park and Rec in looking at something like this? And he was. So I'm sure if you call him, he's going to know what it's about, and he might be able to help guide it a little bit.
All right.
Through experience.
Yes. I will email Rich tonight.
When we had talked about this a few months ago, we had said May was mental health month, but I feel like that's approaching pretty quickly, and I don't think that we would have time that's needed to put good effort into this event. So maybe this could be something for like fall
Yeah,
or,
kickoff
Yeah.
for school.
yeah.
September is a busy month for the township. We have a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a lot in September, maybe like where
October might be, yeah.
the weather's still
And
nice.
we just do it in the pavilion. It's a little warmer inside the pavilion there, I guess.
I think that would probably give us more time to plan a special event.
Could be, I mean, something like end of summer in August.
We traditionally try and stay away from the summer months, although I don't know that we have to. And it would be nicer to do it in the warmer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking like pre-start of school year.
We could try for August, yeah.
Although in August, a lot of people go on vacations and then as soon as they get home, they have to gear up for school. And plus, I like October just because it is cooler.
I was just thinking weather-wise, yeah.
Yeah, I know it could be raining like this a lot. If you talk to Rich.
Maybe when we hone in on someone who's more in touch with teens, I am not myself, maybe they might have a suggestion, August versus October,
All right,
and we can kind of go from there.
so I guess we'll keep this on the agenda. And
That'd be good, yeah.
if anybody knows any teenagers you want to talk to. 8.3, discussion and possible action regarding dogs being let loose in the enclosed play area at Brookside Park.
Sure. And I'm going to approach this because previously you had asked me to approach it from two angles. One was specifically the Brookside Park tot lot concern. The other one was dogs in the park in general at all the parks being off leash. So one of the challenges was going to be, okay, how do we notify people as to what to do about it when they see it? And how do we give the police the tools they need to make sure that they can enforce whatever it is? So what you see up on the screen right now is the current dog signage that is throughout the park system. It's not the one specifically at Brookside. I'll talk about that in a moment. But throughout the park system, the other sign it's a general sign, and it says your dog has to be leashed, your dog has to be curbed, and it's
Their own stop sign posts.
they're all exactly. So they're throughout the park and the trail system. Exactly, that's it, and that's a standard sign that's used really throughout the state of Pennsylvania. When the township manager and the chief of police and I met and talked about it, we were thinking of adding a small sign right underneath it. And if Steve, if you could pull the other one up so we could show the wording. There we go. So this would be a small sign that would just fit exactly underneath it. And it would be very clear. All dogs must be on a leash and curbed. Report violations to the police by calling 911. See the Newtown Township General Code, chapters 61 and 112 for penalties. So it gives everybody all the information that they need. They've been notified. They're not allowed to do this. It gives people who witness it a course of action that they can take safely. And it notifies people, hey, look, this is where you read in the law of why you can't do it. And this is what could potentially happen if it's, if that takes place. So
Is there like a fine in that ruling?
there is in the code, there are fines and there are penalties that are associated with it.
Is there
Yeah.
something that could be like highlighted right here? Like I've seen signs like that out in Okawaki, whatever it is, park out in Willistown, and they say like $250 fine for
For first offense.
So it's like, oh, they're serious.
Yeah. So the challenge is, it's a good point, and I've seen signs that have that on it. the question is kind of where do you draw the line on how much information do you put on the sign? Because we could keep going. I mean, there's a lot more information that I could very quickly put on there. I mean, if I just look at the chapter 112 violation and penalty, you know, any person, firm or corporation violating any provision of this chapter shall upon conviction be punishable by a fine not exceeding $1,000 plus costs of prosecution, and in default of payment, such fine and costs shall be imprisoned for a term not exceeding 30 days.
Wow.
That's all important information.
Right. Well, it could be something like, you know, fine applies or something like
Well,
that.
that makes me feel it's official, you know, it has
Yeah.
a chapter and
The
it
police.
says penalties on it, so
Yeah, okay.
I know penalties could either be money or jail, right?
Right.
Right. That's
Or you
true.
have to move to
That makes
another
sense.
town.
So that was the thought, to try to keep it, you know,
This will just go underneath of those signs.
exactly. So that would go directly underneath those signs, becoming part of them. And the chief of police said, yes, if that information was up there, that's all that they would need to, you know, to make sure they enforce it.
Makes sense.
So that's in the park system itself. The one specifically at Brookside Park, the sign on it says dogs are not permitted in the playground area.
Yes.
It's right on there. I would create a sign that would be almost identical to this, but it would be specific to that, saying, you know, pretty much the same thing. You know, the key information, report violations to the police by calling 911. See Newtown Township General Code for the violations or for, you know, for the penalties.
So put that right underneath of this, the sign that's there.
Exactly.
Just leave off the leash and have it apply to dog in the playground.
Exactly. And in that particular case, I may make a new sign because it's hanging on the fence. I may just make a new sign, very specific, including this information on it.
Steve, could you flip back to the other sign that's already existing?
QR code.
I'm wondering if we couldn't do a QR code on the
So
sign
they could
that
look
would
up.
take them to our code,
To the code.
Oh, good.
particularly to the fine section. And that would, you know, it's just
Right.
another way of
They could just
communicating
look it
that.
up right on their phone.
But, you know, and if they want, if they're interested to know what it could cost them, they can look it up.
Right.
Just a thought process there and, you know,
And it makes it look official that you're, you know, enforcing, you have a mechanism in place that. Yeah,
I just had a comment on this sign that there is we need an apostrophe in the word it's. I taught grammar and so
we don't do apostrophes on signs.
I can take a red magic
Cost
marker.
extra.
I'll do my red magic marker next time.
I think that's good. I think the verbiage is good. I
Yeah.
think that would hopefully deter anyone and.
That QR code is a great idea.
And with the QR code, say, for example, the website gets updated. Is that?
If
Cause
we
a
change,
QR
if we change the code, I believe it would automatically update to that spot.
Yes, because it'll actually point you to the page in the code.
Right.
And, you know, even if we updated the code, it would still point to that page. That page
Right,
is
that's
just.
what
Yeah,
would
but I
think.
mean, if they. I've seen so many times where you click on something, you get a 404 error. page
Yeah.
not
Right, it's not
found.
there.
Yeah. because-
I think we would be okay. I mean, we could test it and find out if we changed it, you know, because we do change our code every year. Overall, typically, like we'll
Right.
add a whole new section. We added the shade tree. We've added.
Yeah, as long as you
different
put it
kinds
in the same place of the URL, doesn't.
Yeah.
I think-
But I think the URL for this would stay the same.
I think more information is helpful. I wonder if the types of people who might be breaking this rule to begin with, I wonder if they would look up the QR code or.
Probably not, but the person who's going to report it might-
report it.
Right.
Mhm.
and
Oh,
they
right.
might go, wow, this is the township serious on this. I'll call.
It gives the police too, the ability to say, well, like you were informed, you know.
Yeah.
It's right there.
One of the challenges is most of these things, like when we say a fine up to, most of the time, that fine is actually not set by us. It's actually set by the district court.
Hmm.
And so the district court goes in and assesses the fine based on That, you know, if it's one time or if it's a repeat offender or those kind of things. So that's a lot of the reason why we don't want to just say, this is what the fine is, because the district court,
Right.
you know, if somebody's belligerent, the judge may say, you're going to get the whole $1,000 on your first offense just because, you know,
Gave me a hard time.
you gave our police officer a really hard time, or you gave the judge a hard time, or, you know, that kind of thing. I mean, our district justice tends to be a little bit lenient most of the time, to be honest with you, which is, you know, I think initially that's great, but if you have repeat offenders, obviously you need to make it so that it's, somebody has to think about it. You know, if you come in and you know it's only $25 if I get caught, you may not think too much about it. But if it's going to be several hundreds of dollars, you might start going, that's a little bit more of my pocketbook.
Yeah.
So I know that one of your primary concerns and charges to me was to find a way to give people a way to report it because they didn't know what to do when they saw it. And that's why I think probably the strongest line is report violations to the police by calling 911. I think somebody who's doing something that they shouldn't be doing and they see that anybody who sees them could call the police.
Right.
It's right there. I think that may be the strongest deterrent.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think that's strong enough.
I just would make note just for you, and I make this note often because I know that we talk to a lot of the public who has when you tell me to call 911, you know, we all grew up, you don't dial 911 unless it's like your house is burning down or somebody's breaking in, or, you know, so you look at this and you say, do I really have to call 911 just to report somebody's got their dog off leash? And what I want everybody to understand, and for those that are watching and for you, is that in Delaware County, that is our dispatch system. We don't have a number you call to that's not 911 for dispatch. And we don't have our own dispatch here at the township. We use the Delaware County system. And so 911 is the answer. In fact, if you pick up the phone that's just out at we have a phone that's in the lobby over here or in the vestibule over here by the police department. And so we have it set there. If you pick that up, it basically dials 911 and calls the dispatch. It's a direct line that does that. And so I've been telling people that, and there's always this, but I was told never to call 911. In Delaware County, that is how you get a police officer to show up for something that's even non-emergency. So it is okay to dial 911 for those purposes. And so I like to say that as often as I can to folks, because people are used to 911 only being for that true, we need ambulance or we need fire company or we need the police because the whole world's falling apart in my life right this moment. And, you know, and then when we get to this kind of thing, you say, well, is it really that kind of an emergency? Well, it is in Delaware County. That's how we do it.
We had a bowling ball stolen from the garden, so my wife was upset, and I'm like, you know, it's a bowling ball, you know, we'll get another one. And she called 911. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Well, she did the right thing.
That's the only number she can call, right? To get the police. So,
yeah. I mean, even I will tell you, even most of the time, if I want the police to respond to something, even as the manager, like I see something and I want them to respond to something, I dial 911. I don't call the back here to the station. I call 911 because that way we have a record of it. We know that they've been dispatched for that purpose. If they're responding to that and they need to respond to something else, that they already know where that officer is. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why we want that to happen.
Things you don't think about.
Yep. So my comment to that is if somebody asks you, you tell them that's exactly how it works in Delaware County. And that's what the police will tell you is how they want you to get a hold of them.
No, I guess next is 8.4, discussion of the upcoming chalk art event at Newby Park. So Caitlin.
Yeah, so we have secured food and the chalk art event. And Wade, thank you for reaching out to point of contact. We'll have a officer Kine
Kind.
there with K9 Boya. And I think you had mentioned there could be a firefighter.
He hasn't gotten back to us yet.
Okay.
So, and that's the day of the flea market as well. So I think they're tied up.
They may be
pretty
tied
good.
What date is that?
It's April 20, is it 4 or 5? I keep messing
Five,
that
I
up.
think it is.
It's
24th.
Sunday, April 24th from 10 a.m. to noon. And I think Supervisor Altieri was that
Yes.
firmed up? He'll come and speak at the beginning, and there will be water ice and pretzels.
And I think we discussed maybe having, so like the first 45 minutes would just be Leonard and the K9 officer, and then the next hour and 15 minutes, we would go down to the basketball court with the kids and do the chalk art. That way, whoever's coming that doesn't need to be there can just stay for 45 minutes and go. Because the kids are just going to be doing chalk art.
Yeah.
um,
Yep, that sounds good.
At that point. And the water ice and pretzels will probably be gone in the first 45 minutes, I would think. And if not, we just keep them there until, if that's all right. Do you want to have anyone there as well to speak, or?
Well, if Leonard's speaking, he's speaking on behalf of the township, so
Right.
I'm happy with that. I'm just thinking in regards to, this might be a good opportunity, one of our new tents set up there. We've gotten a couple new tents. So this might be an opportunity to just set one up there and give you guys a kind of like something to work out from, and have particularly if you're having some food and stuff.
Well, that would be great because we don't have a rain date, so.
Yeah.
Rain or
I don't know that it's waterproof, but we'll find out.
We'll find out, we'll let you know.
Kind of hard to do chalk in the rain.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for good weather.
It's going to be, we're going to be fine. It's going to be great.
Yeah, and I would say, one thing I would say to you is, if you have kids, I know you've got the K9, but you might find that 45 minutes is a long time for kids to wait to go do something.
Right.
Like you may want to try to figure out, like they may only be there for 45 for that, but that you may at least break it up so kids can go start doing something. Because if kids are, I'm not a kid, but I have a very short attention
I
span.
was thinking that. I think they're gonna be like, can we go do chalk
So
now?
I guess we'll just have them there only for 45 minutes or half hour.
Well, the chalk,
then-
the chalk artist is gonna have, the plan is that she'll have everything set up, ready to go at 10 a.m. She's gonna have some interactive chalk designs. So there will be Thomas the Train in one corner, Encanto in another corner, and then just some like fun things. And then there's chalk all over, so kids can also do their own. She said she'll do a couple, color in design so that the kids can color in what she has. So it's all kind of been planned out to take up 3 corners of the basketball court for what she's providing in her services. And then I figured we could, pop up the food nearby. So I was, in my head, I was thinking that would just kind of be open from 10 to noon. But we could, kind of have point everyone towards Officer Kine and Leonard for the, kind of the.
Or maybe
opening.
they're going to even just come down on the basketball court.
Sure. I'm thinking Leonard's, I think, would do real well. Just kind of there. And, the key is, if the focus is on the kids, and if he just takes 5 minutes and just kind of does a welcome and does that, and then Anthony could have the dog and be kind of going around even while they're doing the art. The thing is that you want to be careful because not every child's okay with dogs, Anthony's really good with Boya, and so I'm not like, she's very friendly, and so it's not that issue, but some kids get very afraid. And she's not a large dog, but she's a good sized dog, and so he'll be careful with that, and I'm sure she'll be on the leash, and so.
I think too, that maybe not everyone will be there right at 10 a.m. if you're on a 5-year-old schedule, you're going to be there somewhere in between 10 and 12. So
Yep.
there, it might not be like, the official start that some of our events have. It might be a little more slow.
Do you then think that we should set up the tent down near the basketball?
I
court?
think that if you had made the event right there, that's probably
Okay,
wise.
all right, that sounds
That
great.
sounds good.
You guys okay with that?
Sure.
You can work that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the whole thing's gonna be on the basketball court at Newby, right? Is it?
Yep,
Yes,
yeah.
that's what we
Yeah,
just
yeah.
decided.
So you're not gonna be down near the playground area. You'll be up on the hill. when the-
Yeah,
when
well,
the
I think if we
basketball-
set up everything by the basketball court and then that's where everyone speaks, then we'll kind of be, I'm sure there'll be kids on the playground area too, but I think, they'll
Okay.
maybe head to the food and the chalk stuff.
So this doesn't involve like the police car or anything like that.
We
it's-
had talked about that in the very beginning, but I think we sort of phased that out.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
So this sounds like a better idea, much.
yeah, maybe,
Easier.
I'm hoping this goes well. I hope we're out of water ice and, very quickly. And then maybe if it's successful, we could talk about a bigger scale next year. And Wade, thank you for putting the signs up at the parks.
Yeah, so
Or
Steve made us laminated sheets and then I went over to George's building and Harry gave me some stakes. And
Oh, that's great.
staple them on. So it's cheap and easy to do and it's effective, right? Newby and finalize 8.5, finalize committee goals for 2022. So we have the bocce ball court, which is, we're not worked out well, of course, so far. So I'm not sure, if we want to ask someone, a corporation to help us fund that and then use the township's funds and then have someone else help us fund it or ask for a grant somewhere.
So we do have budgeted funds for the bocce ball court. I think
Material.
that, I know one of the delays is that you originally had a sponsor who was going to physically do the site prep work.
Yes.
And I know that has not happened at this point, and that was, that's probably the initial holdup right now, is the site prep work. I know originally last year, there were some concerns about trees, which initially held it up, and then they got worked through, and then it was, the site work was going to be done by a company, and I guess I just don't think they've gotten back to you
Correct.
at this point.
So I could actually look at other companies. I do know another company that might be willing to do it. They have the equipment to do that digging and move the soil as well, which is what we're talking about. And move the material into the holes. So I don't know if you want me to pursue other companies or just not sure where to go. So the original people can't, they're not really on board with it anymore. That
Okay.
they've lost a lot of people in their business. It's just, they're not in the same position because of
They
COVID.
don't have the personnel to.
Right.
Yeah.
They're struggling to have people. So he's been trying and trying.
Yeah, so here's what my recommendation, I think if we can find somebody who's willing to come in and do that, I think that's a big win because it gives a partner to the project and we can, give some credit to that. If we can't, we do have resources within the township that we would, this is something that we need to do. I don't want to not get it done because we can't find somebody who's going to help us. And so, George and I were just briefly chatting. We believe we have the equipment to get in and actually do that if we need to.
Okay.
Ideally, I think it would be great to have kind of a sponsor, who we can even give, a sign that, helped created by whoever it was. Just because I think that I always look for those private public partnerships because I think that's when we have the big wins. Because people get invested in the game and all of that,
And we
literally
built-
in the game
and
in
we
this
built
case.
community, yes.
But I would say this to you. I wouldn't keep I wouldn't make that hold us up from moving forward. If you want to set a date to move forward by, work with George, and we can get that to happen, because I view it as, this is something we've been talking about probably for about a year and a half, maybe a little
Two,
longer, maybe
yeah.
even 2 years.
Yes.
And so I think it would be a big win for you and for the township if we got it into play. And so that would be my preference.
Okay. So let's set next month's meeting as a date to move on, make a decision. Is that okay?
Yeah, make a final decision at the next month's meeting.
Right.
That's fine.
So I will stop and see the two companies, and if I can think of any others, I will.
And my suggestion is, we're talking about this, let's say that by the end of September would be your goal to have the bocce ball court in and operational.
Right.
And so, and that way, if you've talked to the two companies and they both say, oh, we're so busy, there's no way we can do that, then George knows how to budget his time this summer to get that work done.
Okay.
But it gives us a deadline to aim for,
Yeah. Okay.
to get it into play.
Okay.
And then hopefully people could enjoy it for, the month of October, maybe even into November before that. I mean, that's my thought.
Okay.
I mean, if you wanted to pick the end of August, that would be great. But I also know we're already we're the middle of April. I know it's the first Thursday, but like by the time we get anything done, we're the middle of April.
And we should probably make it August, just because September is so insanely busy for us, and Drexel Lodge is going to be affected with equipment if we have the concert, whatever else we're doing. And so the basketball mural is another thing. Karen Can, who is the teacher who headed this up, is having knee surgery. So she's tried to work through COVID, and we did have it set up, but then, we had the spike and things changed on her, and she had to cancel that. So she's at wit's end, and now she has her knee. So she's asked, where do you think we should go? And she said that, she could ask other teachers. So I said, yes, please do that. So she has reached out to the entire school district, other art teachers. And we have 4 tied up here with us, but there are other ones available. I haven't heard back yet. I'm ready to write her again to see where she's at.
And if the school district, comes back and says they can't for whatever reason, and I don't want to put undue pressure, right? We've asked them, and we think it's a great idea, but if it's not going to work, we're okay with that. I would suggest then that we have a conversation either with Delaware County Christian School or Episcopal Academy.
Okay.
And because they both said they want to be able to do projects within our community, and this might be a good opportunity to do that if that's not the case. George and I've talked, our concern that we have is that the court's in pretty good shape today, but we really need to get a coat of paint on it pretty quickly so that it doesn't start to deteriorate. And if we're not going to be able to get this done within the next, I don't know, we have a specific time period, but 6 or 8 months, then we need to probably move forward and just go ahead and paint it as it is today, just to get it protected. And then maybe we would make a decision that really where we'll do the mural is when we go and redo Newby, and we'll do the mural there or something. But I think it's still a good idea. I'm not saying we don't want to do it. I'm just saying we're a little bit concerned about protecting the court and not letting it start to deteriorate because we haven't painted it in the timely fashion.
With the thaw and freeze.
With the thaw and freeze, because that will have an impact on the court if we don't take care of it that way.
So would you be opposed to reaching out to either Boron or SAP to see if they might have interest in having this the junior from or the high school who designed the mural that they chose,
Uh-huh.
to have them sponsor it, possibly pay for it, and have this kid come in, and then whoever wants to volunteer, we'll bring volunteers from that company in.
So
to do it.
I mean, we have money budgeted for it. I mean,
Yes.
obviously, if somebody wants to help pay for it, we're glad to do that. But I mean, when you came back and said that you guys were going down this road of the mural, I mean, we had planned on painting the court
Yes,
anyway, right? I mean, that was a plan. So I think we've added some additional money because we know when we do, it's like the mural at the building over there.
Turn in.
Instead of one color and it being 5 gallons of paint, you're done. You've got 32 quarts of 17 different colors,
very bright colors.
very bright colors, and we understand that. So, I mean, you had to add some additional money for the paint.
Okay.
So, and we've done that as part of our budgeting process. So we have that, and so I don't want you to feel like you have to go find money. I think we just need to go ahead and figure out how to get the actual painting done. And if this student, and we could get volunteers to do it, I think we're open for that.
Okay.
We do think there needs to be probably a little bit of guidance in that, but we're open to figuring out how to do it.
The last I heard was that they were going to need patterns to develop and make it. Yeah, and I was actually a pattern maker at one time, so I went and found some oil templates that you can cut. You tape them together, so you can split this thing into quadrants or eighths. Develop templates for each quadrant. You tape it, and then you spray paint. The overlay. So,
Another skill that I didn't know that Wade had. I'm thinking we've got some other projects.
So I offered my services, and I offered to buy the material because I found the place it's very cheap and
Uh-huh.
it's perfect for the application. So I haven't heard back. I'm hoping somebody's going to step forward. I just thought that Boron is a perfect company. They're probably looking for something that's got, good exposure. It's a good partnership.
I am all for, here would be my only comment. Boron has stepped up for several different things. If we can ask other companies to join in and do that, I think that it adds to who's participating. And I want to always be careful not to overextend our requests to any one company.
Yes.
That's my only comment to that. We have, we've got Mainline Health here in town. We've got Amera Health here in town. We have SAP here in town. BPG or Equus is here. We have a lot of folks who potentially we could go and talk to who are large enough companies and large enough organizations that this may be an option.
Right.
And some of our smaller businesses have done okay, even during the pandemic, and you may find that they're even willing, particularly if we're able to give them some kind of recognition, and we're happy to do that.
Okay.
So I have on here, you were talked about the bocce ball court and getting that done, and I changed that to August based on your comment. We have the shades of Brookside, and I would think we would like end of July. I know you have an order time frame that we have to watch. So we could do end of July. You've talked about the basketball mural. I think that one's probably a little bit more tough to know when that is going to happen, just because there's so many things that are moving that we're not aware of. But you've mentioned, I know you've mentioned, some activities, and I think there's some really good activities that you're looking at doing. I know you've got the one here in April that you're looking at in regards to the Newby Park, but I think you've also, is there another one at Newby this year, or is that the only one?
So we discussed maybe having so I reached out to Sheila EAC, and to look into maybe having just a small park stream cleanup in September there. Just to, show some attention to the park, and it's never had a cleanup, so there's probably
Which
some
park is
trash.
it?
Newby.
Okay.
Just so, just so we're doing something, taking small steps to show
Good
some
idea.
attention.
And then you're doing
We
a
have the
concert in the fall and a concert in the spring, right?
Yes, we have concert on May 27th, Drexel Lodge Park.
So you have 2 concerts, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, I'm looking at
I think
some
it's
of your,
May 28th, Saturday.
Yes, is it the
Right.
28th?
28th. Mhm.
Sorry.
When's the September? I think, did we talk about a potential date, 10 or 17 or something?
Yeah, May 14th was it?
No, it's May 14th. It wasn't May 28th.
May 14th.
Oh,
I'm
May
sorry.
14th, okay.
No, well, that's me. 'cause
I'm
I
not,
said
I'm not
the
helping
20th.
here. All right, May 14th. That's it. I have it in my calendar too.
Yes, it is May 14th. Yes.
so I'm looking here, I mean, I see 4 goals that you could have that are pretty simple that you're already working on and heading for. So I don't know if you have anything else that you're trying to accomplish specifically.
Bocce court, and the umbrella is the bocce court basketball mural, concert, chalk art. Yoga, yes. Yes, oh gosh, that's what it was.
Is that
Exercise in the
is that
park.
Wednesdays in the summer? I can't remember. Oh, Tuesdays, thank you.
We're gonna open up for public comment, I guess.
And you were going to, do you know how long you were doing that for? Is that like a 12-week program, 10-week program, 12?
June the 8th or so till next weekend in August. You want me to-
Yes, please.
It looks like June 7th is the first Tuesday.
Yes. All right, let me just give you a couple things. Well, regarding the summer exercise program that is scheduled through Forever Young Fitness. And that is going to be Tuesday evenings from 6:15 to 7:15. And that's June 7th till the last, I think it's August 24th, but I don't have the exact date and I can get back to you. Also, Wade, you mentioned with regard to the Newby Park and the EAC working together. I did speak with the EAC and they're all on board with helping out with that. They also, you mentioned to look into some type of environmental issue to look to, maybe they do live staking or, so Cindy and I and a couple are going to take a look at Newby and see what recommendations they
Okay.
are. They also ask you to reach out to Shade Tree. Maybe they could recommend, some trees or things. That would be a good way to work together.
Okay,
Okay, and the other thing is regarding, this is just personal comment, regarding your dog sign. I know that a lot of the parks, the signs are mostly at the entrance in the parking lot, and specifically for Brookside and Greer Park. Most of the dog offenders, if you will, are not parking in that lot. They're walking into the park from either Cayley or from, Ashley or, the other roads, so they're not going into the park. So if you could have the signs deep in the park where the people actually gather, not just at the entrance where the parking lots are. Because that's really where most of the activity, especially for Greer. It's at the back of the park, people are coming in, and I'm not joking when I say to you that at 5 o'clock, 5:30, there are 7 to 8 dogs there every night with no leash. And it's the same group of people, and, you don't want any problems with neighbors, but it's just unfortunate. But maybe they don't know that that's not allowed. So maybe if we make them aware, we can be nice. The other thing I asked is, since we're doing the exercise class, there is potential we might also be looking, and this is still on the thoughts of doing yoga during the day. This is a different school that's coming in, so I have a tentative agreement with them just yet, but I wanted to make sure that you guys were on board with that. And again, I would do the kind of setup and we'll look into that, but I just want to see if your thoughts are good with the yoga as well, because the evenings have a different crowd. So during the day, you would get, an early morning crowd and something would be just a different mix of people. And it's nice to have a variety. It would be a different night. Tuesday night will be different this year. We've done Wednesdays and Thursdays, and we like to mix it up because everyone has different schedules. So if we do a day event, we'll look into that. Just let you know and see.
that
what your
would be
thoughts
at
are.
Drexel Lodge as well? or-
Yes,
So we might interfere. We just need to
Check with Rich.
be
Right.
careful with Rich.
Yep.
Yes. for
Yes, Rich is,
anything he
anything
might
we
be
do, we
doing.
always check with Rich.
He's the
And-
only one we need to coordinate with, right? As
Yeah.
far as the field goes. Okay.
Yeah, I would also just make sure you check with the township,
Yes.
who is doing our events at the parks. Is that Heather? Yeah, so just check with Heather in the office, just to make sure that somebody hasn't already reserved during that time,
Sure.
you know, and because once you do it, we'll put it on as a reserve.
Well, I
But
think
usually
most
the
of it, we
pavilion.
wouldn't use the pavilion. Most of those events could be out in the grass except for rain. But the Tuesday night will be used on the field and just at the pavilion as a rain. So do you want the class yoga to be canceled if it's a rain event?
No, I think if you're wanting to do it, I believe that the first priority should be events that we're doing for the community.
Okay,
That's what the parks are for, is
Right.
for us to do that.
sure.
And then if people are choosing to rent and do those
Okay.
things, I don't want to, I would view it as, I just want to make sure that if we're doing activities from this group or from Rich's group, they get the first priority.
Okay, and so what is Heather's last name? Because I'm not familiar with.
Hastings,
Hastings.
she's actually in the codes department,
Okay,
and it's 110, extension 110.
okay, another question. I know previously we were told that Steve was going to be the point person for promoting the PR, but I understand now Rose is going to be that person.
Well,
Because like the flyers for the Newby Park and for the summer activities and the
well,
concerts.
it's more has to do with, so Steve is still going to be doing things for Parks and Rec.
Oh, okay.
Rose is going to be doing it for EAC.
Oh, okay.
So it depends on which group.
Okay.
Yeah. so-
Rose is EAC, okay, and Steve is Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
All right.
And if it's a joint, then either of the two of them may be doing it, but they'll work together based on time
So I
schedule.
did not see the Newbie event shared because Leonard and I were trying to share that. So is that Steve's to create the Newbie Park event for the
Yes.
24th?
Yes.
Okay, can you create that and we can share that? Okay,
Shared from the township's website.
yes. And from the township's Facebook page, so that we can share it to all the community.
Yeah,
pages.
you know, and I took a screenshot and then I put that up, so it still was the township's post.
Right, but in that
But
post,
that would make it helpful if you could make it shareable. Thanks,
but we
Steve.
actually need also to put the actual physical of address because a number of people that I've spoken with don't even know where Newbie Park is. And it just is like, you have to say Doe Lane, Deer, like you have to put the physical address.
I wonder how many people are going to be there. We've got it advertised in the park. We can't fit a lot of people there. So
Not
I'm,
much parking.
no.
The other thing about the parks idea is, we've been there before on a Saturday. So if maybe one representative from Parks and Rec can be there Saturday night, just to make sure there's no glass on that basketball court. And maybe have the police just do a drive by that Saturday night, just to keep it clean. So Sunday morning you're not running into any surprises, because it's frequently glass from
I think
bottles.
George is going to blow off the court the night before, the day before, even 2 days before.
Yeah, we were actually planning on keeping an eye on it
Yeah.
and checking to make sure it's okay that morning. We don't want to walk in and have any surprises.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, so from the EAC's perspective, anything, I know Wade, you mentioned environmental initiatives. Is there anything else that you want them to look into on that for Newbie?
No, but I think we've missed live staking.
Yes,
So we would have to do it
in the fall.
next year.
Yeah, you
We
missed it
can,
in
we can
spring.
do it in the fall, do you know, or
Well, you've missed this opportunity. I mean, you really should have had it.
for spring, yes,
I
but
think it's in April or.
yeah, I thought it was
Yeah.
actually like February or March it had to be done.
Yeah.
So, next year we need to plan better with that event to pick one park or pick one township property where we could do that together.
Right, but from the EAC's perspective, you want a park cleanup at Newbie to coordinate with EAC.
Yes,
And so if we can work with Asking Trees so that they can make it a tree event, and then we can also work with Newtown Square and Bloom and do some beautification through them.
okay, good
Right.
idea, yes.
Right, cool.
All right. I guess we've had about enough. Huh? Christian school, and who was the other school? Steve, I'm sorry.
EAC or Delaware County Christian School. If you're striking out with the high school at this time.
Right. So,
I know there's a design, so I'd hate to see, I mean, somebody took the time to do the design, so I'd really like to see them be able to do it. That would be my first preference.
and they were in their bedrooms on, Zoom doing these projects. I think it was like their only lifeline to
Yeah.
having something to look forward to at the time. So it might mean something to that.
We can allow them to come out and do it in their pajamas if it makes them feel better.
Yeah, we'll do it at night.
We could do a pajama party at the basketball court.
That might be our teen event there. There you
Yeah,
go.
They would like it.
Do we have any items for the next agenda? Anybody wants to?
We
add?
were, we want to make a decision on, what was it now? No, we were going for the next meeting. Hey.
Was it the
Yeah, okay, so it was the, on the bocce,
bocce, right?
yeah, the whether or not we're going to go forward with,
Yes.
You
so
could- if
next-
you could find a
next May,
corporate spot,
George will have some information. I'll have some information. Review it at that point and make a decision. It was just a consideration, I think, at that point. But we should add that to the agenda.
So I think you're in pretty good shape. I've looked at like what you have goal wise for the year. If I can, let's just recap those real quick.
Okay.
And I would, if you all are in agreement, that's what they are. I'd like to start I'd like to start being able to get the goals back to the board of supervisors so they know what everybody's working on. I'm looking here that we've talked about having the bocce ball court finished by the end of August.
Yes.
Having the shades or umbrellas, whatever you want to call them, up at Brookside Park by the end of July. You're looking at the basketball mural, hopefully completed this year, by the end of the year. Parks and stream cleanup at Newby in September. The 2 concerts in the park, one in the fall and one in the spring.
Yes.
And then exercise as well as yoga in the park as your 2 events on a kind of a weekly basis.
Yes. A recurring
doing
event,
that.
yes.
So that's what I have as your kind of goals for the year. Is that what you all think you're heading is? Are we leaving anything out?
I mean, we're talking about doing something for teens, but I feel like that's still kind of a.
Yeah.
I mean, you can
Discussion.
always do more,
Okay.
but this gives the board kind of an idea of what you're trying to accomplish. The thing that I would ask, we can do that. I would ask that you probably take action on that as an agreement tonight, that those are your goals that you're
Okay.
trying to accomplish. And then, Wade, I would suggest that kind of as a reporting back to the board that you do, if you're available, a short presentation Monday night, just about what you're doing, particularly, I know we're going to talk about the shades, getting the board to approve that, but you might just talk about that. I know you're also I know the school teachers are trying to finish up. I think they're saying October. Is that what it is? Am I correct on that?
Sometime in the summer, they're hoping to have it done. Yes.
Yeah, I knew they were getting the kids involved and, all of that kind of stuff. So you might mention about that project going on and just kind of give an update, because there's some really exciting things that you guys are doing. And I think it would be helpful for them to kind of hear that in a short presentation, if you could do that on Monday night.
How long do we have? 10 minutes?
5?
5. Okay.
Okay.
And you have 6 points.
5 minutes. All right.
I mean, here's my philosophy is get their appetite wet. If they want to ask questions, let them ask questions. And if it takes 10 because of that, that's great. But I would aim to try to do it in about 5.
So we should vote on our goals for 2022. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion moves forward.
I just wanted to say one thing, wait. The Drexel Lodge Park bathroom, teachers, art teachers, kids, but you. So for your initiating this, thank you.
It's just an idea.
Well, you are the idea man.
Well, I mean, those teachers are amazing. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And I just made these laminated versions for you.
Ooh, my God.
wall.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I'll put them in the basement.
And here's the first one.
They're doing a
beautiful.
great job with
Yeah.
it.
They are.
Faces.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
awesome.
gonna keep this myself.
Yeah, the one girl, Jill, really does patterning exceptionally well. And then the other one does ombreing. It's called where you phase two colors together. Okay.
I didn't hear a vote on the dog signs. I know you said that you were okay
Oh, I
with
don't
it,
think
but
we voted. Yeah.
I don't think you voted. I think you should probably go ahead and take a vote just so it's on the record that you took the vote.
No. So 8.3. So we're going to vote on the township Public Works recommendation on a new sign being added to the existing signs at all of the parks where there are signs. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. So I guess we're adjourned.